Hi and welcome. Today I'm going to explain a button combination switch that we designed as part of a adventure kind of puzzle world that my daughter and I are building. For this, I'll just run you through what it does. So in here we have a sequence of buttons which go from 0 to 9 and a reset at the end. You can do as many as you want, but that's what we've done for this. The purpose of this is to work out a 4-code combination, and if you get it correct, it opens the doors at the end and you can get out. If not, you need to reset and try again. So I'll just give an example what happens. So if I select 3, shows I've picked one number, 1 shows the next number, 4 shows the next number, and then say 7, which I know is the right combination, will show the last number, doors open. Okay, so I'll just head out here, hit the pressure plates, we'll end up closing the doors and then you're done. So how this all works, so I'll just head out now and show you the mechanism behind this. Now the area consists of 4 memory locations, or 4 areas that store the digits that are chosen. It does it sequentially, so first number gets picked and gets stored into this area, and then the next number gets picked into here, third number here, fourth number here. Once all 4 numbers are picked, they're compared, and if it's correct, it activates something. In this case, it was the doors. I'll just show you how this works. So all the numbers that are pressed all come out the back here, as you can see, along the redstone, go through repeaters just to get the distance, and then they all combine at the top here. From here they go around the repeater and they head along this line, and there's one line to each of the 4 memory locations. As it goes into the memory location, it goes through this repeater and goes into this circuit, what I call a circuit, loops around, goes through a comparator to this repeater which joins in, and what it ends up doing is causing this repeater to lock, so no more signals can get in. And basically it keeps itself alive in the circuit. The comparator, because there's no signal here, and there'll be a signal here, it actually turns on excuse me, and performs a lock. Then that signal will come down across and into this, which is like an AND gate in the electronic sense, and if there's 2 highs here, it puts a high on the output. So initially there'll be the 1 high here, and it'll just stay that way. Now in the case of the way that it works out if it's the right digit or not, is that there's another input here which you can see, which if we track that back, goes back to the number 3, 0, 1, 2 and 3. So it's hardwired in, but if that number 3 is pressed for the first time, that will be high as well as any other number, but in this case the 3 will come through, make a high out there, that loops back around. The purpose for that repeater is so that when that 3 comes up here, it doesn't actually flow through. That will come back around and keep itself active as well, if there was a high there. So if they're both high, that'll go high, it'll come around. So if I press the number 3, I'll just get my helper to press number 3, and you'll see how it works. There you go. So you can see that you might have saw that that bottom one lit up as well temporarily, and now it's caused that loop and locked around. Now this loop here, which I haven't explained yet, feeds off this permanently open loop, goes through. These 3 rectifiers are set as delays, maximum delays. This then runs down, heads around, and locks it open again. So what this actually now does is, just so with that lock open, that actually now causes the any further 3s that get pressed can't activate this sequence. So what can happen is, or what had happened before I put this in, was this stays fully open or fully on, as you can see, and then it moves on to the next stage. But what was happening, if I happen to press 3 again out of sequence, that would come through back up to here, and it would activate it again, and it would, whether the first number or not was incorrect, it would then make this turn on. So if I hit the reset button, I'll get my daughter to hit the reset button. It should turn it all off. And then if we press another number apart from 3, so just press any other number, you can see here, because that didn't come up, that was only a one-way switch. There's no 2 highs, so this has stayed low because it was the wrong number. I'll explain to where that goes later. I'll also explain what these 2 other functions are as well. So if we go to the next stage, actually I'll start from here. If we go through, this high, as I mentioned, comes through, it loops back around to this box, which is just an inverter. That obviously, because it's a high on that side, it's now a low, and it comes over to this stage. Now, similar to the locking mechanism here, what we found, so can you just reset it again, please? Okay, so in the original state, you can see that this is a high, it's high, and it causes the lock to happen on this. There's the lock there. A lock to happen on this at this point. So any number that gets pressed at any time, even though the signal will come along here, it doesn't go into any of these memory locations, because in the first instance they're all locked. So that repeater's locked that one, that's repeated that. That's the default start point. So the first number chosen can only go into the first memory location. So if we press number 3, for example, now, which is the correct number, it'll go through here, activates that because it was correct, through these delays. The delays are here so that there's a delay between the memory areas, otherwise it can cause problems. It gets inverted here and releases the lock on this particular memory area. Now you can see that that's locked off, so nothing can go there, and those other 2 are still locked off. Now it's the same process now. If another number gets pressed, for example, let's try the number 1, please. Goes through. You can see it's gone through here. This has now gone through its process of locking everything up, so no more digits can get in here. The 1 was the correct number, and the same thing here. That line there goes back to the number 1. It's hard coded in as the number to compare against. The 1 was correct there. Same loop around to lock it in place. It has the same locking mechanism down there, so it can't be used again. It was correct, so it goes off to the testing further on. Heads around, goes through these repeaters, back around, same deal, inverts, unlocks the next sequence of memory. If we press the number 4, okay, which is the correct number as well, it's exactly the same process. Comes through, correct number. And then if it comes around, inverts, unlocks the last stage, and allows for the last digit to occur. So in this case, let's make it correct. It's hit number 7. And there it is. So that's now gone through, and all stages are locked. Nothing else can be done anymore. If we follow the outputs across and down, so you can see all 4 joined together here, and then it just comes to a sequence of AND gates, which when compared and compared and compared, if they're not all the same, or sorry, they're not all positive, you wouldn't get an output here. Because they are, you get the output here, and it goes through and it's opened the doors, as you can see there. Now in the case of a reset, now just before we do that, there's 2 reset points here. One is the reset button, and the other one is there's pads outside that door. When you hit the door, it also activates the reset pulse, which comes to this point here, and I'll just walk you through where it goes to. So it comes up to here. Once again, it's a bar, goes all the way to the 4 memory points. They all do the same thing, but I'll just explain this one here. The reset will come down, go through this repeater, which is just purely to amplify the signal, goes to this comparator, which is in all 4 memory locations. It'll switch that comparator off, which by switching that off will then release this lock, and by releasing that lock will allow this low signal to go through. The low signal will go through, it'll close this loop off. It'll go through to this AND gate and turn it off. This will obviously loop around, and basically the whole system will just turn off. So let's get a bit higher so you can see it. We'll hit the reset button. And there it goes, it's all shut down. As we go across, you'll see that all areas have been shut down in that way. Now the last thing left to do is that you might have recalled the LEDs, the torches that are inside the area where you press the buttons, how they get lit up. So what happens is that once a circuit has been used and locked, which is via this loop here that stays on from what I mentioned before, this line connects to it, so it just basically runs down through here, repeaters to amplify it. Now there is, because we want the torch to be on, we've got another torch in there which acts as an inverter, so when this is on, the output goes off, which means then with an output off onto a torch, as you can see here, it turns on. So that made some sense. But when this lights up, that torch turns off, the follow-on line there goes off, and then the torch that's in the room will then turn on. So I'll just it's pretty simple, but just press any number, and there you can see it's moved all the way around and come through and lit up the torch. And that's about it. So if you have any questions, or I've missed something, or something didn't quite make sense the way I explained it, please just ask a question. I'll be happy to answer. Hope this has helped. Just on top of that, that idea of the memory, you can just expand that on and on and on as far as you like. So if you have more digits you want to save, you can just use the same process. There'll be a link to the adventure world that we're kind of building if you want to have a play on that and give us some feedback. From there, that's it. Thank you.